Now, I am so deeply indebted in this work that we do at Lake Institute on Faith and Giving to the wise thought leadership of Henry Nouwen. So we're actually going to begin our conversation with a question that he poses to us, to people of faith who are concerned with questions about generosity and sustainability. If you open the first packet of handouts, you will see that it's called Fundraising as Ministry, Spirituality of Fundraising. You will see that there are a set of reflection questions. And I want to invite you to reflect individually, just for 1 minute, on the first question posed here. And this is a question raised by Henry Nouwen in an essay that he has written around this topic. And this is a question about our own experiences with fundraising. Now, I'm confident that in this room you have people with lots of experience with fundraising in parish, but I also know that we have experienced fundraising with Boy Scouts and the American Heart Association and National Public Radio. So I want you to think broadly about the words, images, and experiences that come to your mind when you think about fundraising. Every second. Each person, brainstorm, 1 minute, and then I'm going to invite you to table conversations. Shout out. We'll try not to overwhelm him, but let's build a list that we can all look at together. When you think about fundraising, words, images, experiences, what's the first thing that came to your mind?
Work.
Work. Yes. Commitment.
Hope.
Hope. Great. Meetings. Yes. Relationship. A target. Great.
Active cause.
Sorry, say it again.
A worthy cause.
A worthy cause.
Active.
That it's active. Great. Okay, David's really fast, so this is great.
Start with why.
You start with why. Like, why are we going to raise this money? Yes, very good.
Begging.
Begging. Thank you. Amanda. Mission and vision. So here's the answer to the why, the question of why. Events. Yes. So when I think about fundraising, I think about chicken dinners and bake sales, fish fries, festivals, community. So have you ever heard someone say friend-raiser or fundraiser? Yeah. Fear. Disappointment. Frustration. I'd say anxiety. Pressure. There's a lot of feelings that we have associated with fundraising activity, right? Guilt. Guilt and shame. I have to say, this is a good list. I want us to have a comprehensive list. Scams. So I appreciate this because I think many of us have had experiences with what I would call unsavory, manipulative, or fundraising that is lacking in integrity.
Multiple.
Say some more.
Many fundraisers, many appeals.
Many fundraisers, many appeals. There's also a sense in which it's never done. This is 24/7, 365. The work doesn't end. Mother Teresa. Say more. That she was good at it. Yeah. So we do have an image of someone who is in a position of doing work that's so important that fundraising for it becomes easy. Yeah. Yes.
I would say vulnerability.
Vulnerability. Really putting yourself forward.
Servant leader.
Servant leaders. How about goals? You know what I think about? The United Way thermometer. Here's an image of our evaluation of our progress toward a goal.
Expected profit.
Sorry,
Expected profit.
expected profit. Yes. I'd also say that there's something here about margin, especially with so many of our fundraising activities, right? What's our net?
Also spreadsheets and numbers.
Spreadsheets, numbers, I would say database, email list. How about stuffing envelopes? Yeah. Timing.
Family.
Family, say more.
Family events.
Uh-huh.
It's not just the parents or adults that are involved. Kids should be, brought in.
Yeah.
Alongside.
Yeah.
Accountability.
Accountability. So I think this is a pretty comprehensive list. We have had a lot of experience with fundraising. Now, I want you to set fundraising to the side, and I want you to turn to the second question. Each person individually, I'm going to give you 1 minute. I want you to brainstorm the words, images, and experiences that come to your mind when you think about ministry. Again, I want to push toward that sensory stuff. What does it feel like? What does it smell like? What do you see when you think about ministry? Thinking about your experiences from your own location, from your own role, from your own experience. What are the words, images, and experiences that come to your mind when you think about ministry?
Compassion.
Compassion,
Helping.
calling, helping, listening, Christ. That was faster than usual. Sometimes we get all the way through a long list and then somebody says, Jesus. Sorry. It's uplifting. The work of uplifting others.
Spirit-filled moments.
Oh, spirit-filled moments. I love that.
Meaningful.
It's meaningful. Over here.
Worship.
Think about worship. So pushing on that a little bit, some of the stuff of ministry. This is about the sacrament. This is about the waters of baptism.
Corporal and spiritual works of mercy.
Corporal and spiritual works of mercy.
Faithful.
It is faithful.
Love in action.
That ministry is love in action.
24/7.
Again, 24/7. So I think about an image that I have. I love social media because I think it helps us to feed our visual mind. It's an image of the pastor of the church that I used to be a member of. And she and her husband were Sunday night, still dressed in church clothes, in the basement of the church, pushing huge wet mops because the church basement had flooded. And if that's not ministry, I don't know what is. So it's that constant self-giving.
Good stewards.
Good stewards.
Suffering servant.
The suffering servant. Father.
So it's not what we do. It's what Christ is doing in us.
It's the work of Christ in us. The work of the body of Christ.
Joy of giving.
The joy of giving. Absolutely. Forgiveness. Bringing comfort to others. Where does ministry take place? Everywhere. I think about the bedside, the counseling room, funeral home. These are places where it's obvious to us that ministry is taking place. in your office,
The church parking lot.
in the church parking lot, the meeting after the meeting. I also think about email, because I will tell you that my experience of ministry is that it does not function without a lot of communication. What else? What's some of the other stuff of ministry?
Smelling like the sheep.
Smelling like the sheep.
Amen.
I think that's really good.
Believe in what you're doing.
Committees, belief in what you are doing. Yeah. This takes us right back to one of the first words, which was calling.
Collaborative versus silo.
Yes. Collaborative versus silo. I love talking about this topic in a room with clergy and lay leaders and with religious professionals who are not clergy. Because I think that we bring different perspectives and a much richer picture of ministry when we talk about it together. What else? What have we missed?
80-20,
80-20. Say more.
the 80-20 rule, or what is it, 20% of people are doing 80% of the work, is that it?
20% of the people doing 80% of the work. Yeah.
Mutuality, receiving and giving.
Yes. Mutuality. I love that. I think that also connects us to hospitality. That if we're going to be extending hospitality, we need to be ready to receive. And ministry will teach you that pretty quickly. David, anything we're missing from this list? Father? Accompaniment. Yeah, I like that. You know, an image that I have associated with ministry is about hands. It's about a hand being held, a hand being reached out in offering, but there is a mutuality there.
To preach the gospel and also be the gospel.
Oh, I like that. Preach the gospel, be the gospel. Healing. We had something here that I think I missed. Oh, good. That's good. Oh, okay, over here.
Pointing others toward God.
Oh, excellent. Planting seeds. Ooh, we have good images for ministry.
Occurs when no one's looking.
Oh, yes. It's often anonymous, quiet, unnoticed. Before I came to Indiana University and to Indiana at all, I worked for Duke Divinity School, and we did a study related to clergy health. And one of the findings of the study is that clergy experience extraordinarily high levels of stress.
Took a big study to figure that out.
Well, that's right. Higher levels of all of the medical issues that are related to that high stress level. And clergy experience exceptionally high levels of satisfaction in their lives. The two things hold together. That this is meaningful work, but it does not stop it from being this difficult, stressful, demanding work either. Now, I want us to turn toward this third question. And the way that I want us to do that is just to observe the differences between these lists that we've built. When we think about fundraising, on the one hand, and when we observe the work of ministry on the other, how would you characterize the difference in the way that we describe fundraising versus the way that we describe ministry?
Tasks versus people.
Tasks versus people. I think that's an accurate description of this difference here. We started our fundraising list with much more transactional and a much higher anxiety tone. And we started our ministry list with much more relational people-oriented, value-centered approach.
Negative versus positive.
It is easier for us to have a negative association, perhaps, with fundraising as an activity than our starting point for thinking about ministry.
Maybe I think of fundraising as selfish, and the ministry is selfless.
Oh, selfish and selfless. Or I would say there's something about bringing in versus sending out. Receiving versus giving. And that we associate giving with ministry. Now, David and I have done this exercise over and over and over again. And I will say that this is a very robust list on both accounts. And I would say that in our culture, and I mean our broad American culture, I think that we've captured the starting point, the associations that we have with fundraising as an activity culturally. And as people of faith, we have captured a much closer experience of the work of ministry. Now, for many of us, we may feel that we know ministry better than we know fundraising. But it's clear to me that this is an experienced room when it comes to the work of raising the resources necessary to do a whole host of important activities. Because there's a richness to the description of fundraising as well that includes relationship, includes connection. I love the words about vulnerability, accountability, hope, commitment, mission and vision that we tie to our understanding of fundraising as well. And that's because you're doing it well. It's because you have had experiences with fundraising that were deeply purposeful. Something that I often say when I'm working with congregational or parish teams or with individual religious leaders, practitioners, is that fundraising is not really about money. Fundraising is about relationships. And if we're in a position of transitioning our thinking from an expectation that we are competing for scarce resources to an expectation that, in fact, God has provided abundantly and wishes for us to have life and have it abundantly, then we will be able to do confidently the work of fundraising in the spirit that you have described when you talk about ministry.